Hi, I am Juliana, and she is Pisica. Hello, my friends cat lovers. We are thrilled to present you a new episode of A Cat Tale. Ruby and the Big Bad Wolf. Once upon a time, there was a playful little black kitten named Ruby. She had sleek, shiny fur as dark as midnight and always wore a bright red collar around her neck. Her friends called her Little Red Ruby. One sunny morning, Ruby's mother called her over. "Ruby," she said, "your grandmother isn't feeling well today. Would you be a dear and take this basket of tuna treats and milk to her? Be careful and stay on the path, all right? The woods can be dangerous." Ruby's ears perked up, her tail swishing with excitement. "I will, Mama. I'll stay on the path." With her mother's words in mind, Ruby set off into the woods, her paws padding softly on the ground. She moved gracefully, weaving through the tall grass and leaping onto fallen logs just for fun. Her red collar glinted in the sunlight as she swished her tail, feeling the warm breeze against her fur. As she wandered through a field of daisies, Ruby suddenly froze, her sharp eyes catching a shadow lurking behind a tree. It was the big bad wolf, with sharp yellow eyes and a bushy tail. "Hello, little kitten," said the wolf, showing his teeth in a wide grin. Ruby narrowed her eyes, her tail flicking as she crouched down low. "I'm going to visit my grandmother, bringing her some tuna treats and milk," she replied, watching him carefully. "How kind of you," said the wolf, his eyes gleaming. "And where does your grandmother live?" Ruby stood up and stretched lazily, pointing a paw toward the path. "Just at the end of the road, in a little cottage." The wolf smiled wider. "Well then, don't let me keep you. Have a safe journey, little Ruby," he said, slinking back into the trees. But the wolf had no intention of letting Ruby reach her grandmother safely. He knew the woods well and darted through a secret path to Grandma's cottage. When he arrived, he knocked on the door. Grandma, an elderly but quick-witted tabby, was resting in her bed. "Who's there?" she meowed. The wolf, disguising his voice, said, "It's me, Ruby. I've brought you tuna treats and milk." Grandma, trusting her keen ears, hesitated, but finally unlocked the door. The moment she did, the wolf bounded in, trapping her in a cupboard. He then curled up in her bed, pretending to nap, and waited for Ruby. Soon Ruby bounded up to the cottage, her paws barely touching the ground as she leaped onto the porch railing before knocking. "Grandma, it's me, Ruby," she called. "I've brought tuna treats and milk." The wolf, in a fake purr, replied, "Come in, dear." Ruby pushed the door open but didn't step in immediately. Her sharp nose twitched. Something smelled off. She leapt onto the windowsill, peeking in. Her grandmother looked strange. "Grandma, what big ears you have," Ruby said, leaping down and circling the bed. "All the better to hear you with, my dear," the wolf rumbled, adjusting the blanket. "And Grandma, what big eyes you have," Ruby said, perching on a nearby chair. "All the better to see you with, my dear," the wolf growled, his eyes following her every movement. "And Grandma, what sharp teeth you have," Ruby meowed, her fur puffing up as she backed toward the window. "All the better to eat you with," the wolf roared, leaping at Ruby. Quick as a flash, Ruby darted up the curtains, clinging to the fabric as the wolf's jaws snapped below. She let out a yowl and swatted at his face before leaping to the top of a cabinet. Just then, a loud bark shattered the chaos. A large service dog named Max, who patrolled the woods, charged through the door, his golden fur gleaming in the sunlight. Max growled fiercely, his teeth bared, and the wolf, eyes wide with fear, backed away. The brave dog lunged, barking furiously. The wolf, realizing he was no match, turned tail and fled into the woods. Ruby, still perched atop the cabinet, let out a relieved purr and quickly hopped down, racing to the cupboard to free her grandmother. "Oh, Grandma, are you all right?" Ruby mewed, nuzzling her. "Thanks to you and that brave dog," Grandma purred back. Max, wagging his tail, stood proudly as Ruby and her grandmother shared the tuna treats and milk. From that day on, Ruby always trusted her instincts in the woods and knew she could count on her new friend Max to keep them safe. And they all lived happily ever after.